Hi, welcome friends. This is Hazel Ortega, and this is my podcast, From Bounce Checks to Private Jets. Today, we're going to be talking about overcoming violence. This topic is very near and dear to me because I grew up in violence and it had a very big impact in my adult life. There are many different types of violence. There's verbal violence, where somebody is telling you that you're not good enough, that you're too dumb, that you're ugly. Somebody's shouting and yelling at you and scaring you. Then there's physical violence, where somebody hits you. Somebody keeps you from going somewhere. You don't have freedom to move around. And then there's even sexual violence. I grew up with physical violence and verbal violence. And why you want to overcome that is because it could lead to catastrophic life events. Number one, you could live in a life where there's no love present. Number two, you could grow up and be violent with your partners, and then also end up in jail or with restraining orders and have a lot of problems. You can get sued. You can fight on the street. So these practices, these habits of solving your problems with violence starts from when you're small. And so overcoming violence, I overcame violence by creating a vision of what I wanted in the future. I was already sick and tired of living my life with unhappiness and having bad relationships and bad communication with my family and with my kids. And I knew something had to change. And when I started working on myself and working on my childhood traumas, I realized it was my violent childhood that impacted my adult life. And the first step I did was to be very clear on what I wanted. So even though my mom perpetrated violence on us, she gave me a great lesson, because then I knew what I didn't want to be like in that regard. There are many other positive things about her, but in the violence, I knew that I didn't want to treat my children that way or anybody that way. And what I did was I created a vision of the complete opposite of that. What kind of mother do I want to be? What kind of wife do I want to be? What kind of boss do I want to be? Sister, cousin, person in the world. And so once I created the vision in my mind, I shared that and then I embodied that. And so instead of arguing with people, I started being more, listening to them more and finding out what their thoughts are. And I became more receptive to other people's opinions, and I learned how to solve my problems without violence. I studied this. I read books on how to change my behavior and become a more peaceful person. So once you decide that violence is not a part of your life anymore, then you get to train people on how to treat you by first your behavior and then what you don't allow anymore. And sometimes that requires you to have conversations with people about what you're not going to put up with anymore and how you do want it to be now. Sometimes you don't even have to say how you don't want it anymore. All you have to say is how you do want it from now on. And things will change in your life. Try that out. It's a gigantic step to create a vision of a different life, a different way to get along. But you will be able to transform your life and love it. I hope you like my tips. If you do, please like my podcast, subscribe, and share. Sharing is caring. Thank you.